see how much fun you can have reenacting these scenes. I think his point about the advance stuff is important. The advance arrangements for the Kennedy assassination came from Bill Moyers, calling, at least part of them, calling the Saul Bloom Agency, and Jack Peterbaugh and Elizabeth Forsling in those days, Elizabeth Forsling Harris later. And they were in meetings with Secret Service and FBI prior to what appears to be a private oil club, probably Connolly's is what we suspect, where the decisions are made about the bubble top, or the decisions are made about changing the route of the motorcade 48 hours before. Years ago I went to Dulles Airport. I lived in D.C. and out in Virginia. It's not far from me. It's all our airports are named after horrible people, except D.C. National. Locals refuse to call it Reagan. But the Dulles Airport had an exhibit about what can they see from a satellite. And actually it was a false exhibit because they can see a golf ball, they can read a license plate, they can look at your facial features from a satellite. I mean, a lot of people don't understand, and I talked to some of the people involved in developing, the Hubble telescope was not primarily designed to see outer space. It was only the one was turned to outer space, and they had to go up and readjust it. All the others were pointed back to the Earth, okay, on the Hubbles. So what can see galaxies is pointed back at you. What do you think they can see? But this had grainy photographs of cities and buildings, you know, what they can see. And then they had a mock-up of the U-2, and they were talking about when they took the pictures from and then the Blackbird and the U-2. And then in the U-2 exhibit, they had photographs from the Cuban Missile Crisis that were taken by the U-2 and that led to them knowing that the missiles had come there. Well, I'm looking at this, and this is an actual glossy photograph of one of the ones that led to the decision, and typed on the bottom is, only this crowd will get it, courtesy of Jagger Charles Stovall. Courtesy of Jagger Charles Stovall, where Oswald worked at that time. And Oswald was their photo expert, and where did Oswald go and subcontract to do the photographic work because they didn't have as good cameras as the other place? He went to Saul Bloom Agency, where Jack Peterbaugh and Elizabeth Forsling Harris worked. Okay, and he had enough clearance. These were the photos that were being processed there, and then their photo analysis is being sent to the NSA, okay, and the NRO, whose initials were secret back then. All right, but that's part of an advanced team. When you talk about an advanced team, I mean, they make decisions. On the other hand, I think that Mike's point is good, that you don't leave it to chance, and you have Team A and Team B. And one example of that, I mean, we know about the multiple attempts in Miami and Chicago and other things, but one example of that is in the Reagan shooting, which I worked on. Most people didn't work in great detail on that one, but I found it interesting. There was a second Hinckley, a guy named Richardson. He was programmed by the same psychiatrist named Rappaport in Evergreen, Colorado. He came to New Haven. He stayed in the same hotel where Hinckley had stayed a week before. He wrote his own love letters to Jodie Foster. After the shooting attempt, he said, "I'm going down to finish the job." And then he was arrested for having a gun in his luggage in the New York Port Authority bus station. Anyone been to the New York Port Authority bus station? Thousands of people. Do they have a metal detector anywhere? How can they figure out you got a damn gun in your bag unless they say, watch for this Clockwork Orange and grab him when he gets off the bus? He's coming on this bus. And okay, that's how they get him. And then they arrest him and they put him in a mental institute. I think he was just recently released. And then he brags about his connection, like how he liked Charlie Manson and he likes the SLA and all of these earlier operations. And he worked prior to that in Cape May for Carl McIntyre, World Council of Christian Churches, who's named in the Torbett document as one of the people connected to the Kennedy assassination. So, but I'm just giving you an example that they would have, if they didn't go to the pantry, my guess is that they would have had a team B on the other direction with a second patsy that was ready to get him as well. But the advance is doing, I would think, both ends. So just thought about it. But why leave it to chance is right, and you got to get it right, but you can also have, I mean, Thomas Arthur Valley, the guy that was arrested and picked up by Abram Bolden in Chicago, well, first by Daniel Groth, who's an agent that's with COINTELPRO, but Abram Bolden got involved in looking into the Chicago case. Thomas Arthur Valley had ID driver license and named Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay, so they had Lee Harvey Oswald in Chicago. Okay, that was ready to take the blame if need be. So if it ain't broke, you don't.